Welcome to graphing systems of inequalities. Again, graphing systems of inequalities. This is going to be a little bit more of an expansion on section 2.6 from our Algebra 2 book, where we would graph just one linear inequality. Systems of inequalities, if you remember, are the system means that we have more than one equation, or inequality in this case. Okay? So, if we remember from previously, if we have that x needs to be less than 0, then what we have here is, again, we're first going to graph the line x equals 0, and the line x equals 0, graphing with blue, is actually the y-axis. These are all the places where x value is 0. So it's a vertical line where x equals 0. Then we check to make sure whether we have a solid or a dotted line. Because it's a less than symbol, it could work the same way if it was a greater than symbol. But because it's not or equal to, we have a dotted line. So, going through, making my dotted line. The next thing I need to do is test a value of x. And now I have two regions. I have a region that is on the right side or the left side of x. I'm going to choose a point out here on the x at a -2, and I'm going to test that value of x to see if it's true. Is -2 less than 0? Yes, it is. This checks, and so we have shading all to the right, or all to the left here on this graph. And so here's the graph of where x is less than 0. Similarly, we might have had something that says that we need y to be greater than 0. And y needing to be greater than 0, the way we graph this, again, is we start with y is equal to 0. And y equals 0, graphing in green, is actually our x-axis line. This is the place where on all points on this line, the y-coordinate is 0. So, there's that line. Now we test to see whether it's whole or separated. Because, again, it's just a greater than, we're going to separate this line, indicating that it cannot actually be the line y equals 0. Now we have two regions. This time it's the top and the bottom. So for us to look at and see which region we should graph, because it's an inequality, we need to test a value of y. I'm going to test up here at a +3. Here's the point 0, 3. 3 is my y-coordinate, so I substitute it in here, and I'm checking where if 3 is greater than 0. Since 3 is greater than 0, this checks, and now I can shade this entire region. So that's the review. What we can do now is make a system of inequalities. That's where we're going to have both x being greater than 0. X needs to be greater than 0, sorry about that. This is where x needs to be less than 0, and y is going to be greater than 0. So this time, our true region, the region that we'll shade, needs to satisfy both x being less than 0, which I'll graph in blue again. We know that it's going to look the same as over here. So I know that it's this line here, where we've got a sectioned line on the y-axis, and our y values need to be greater than 0. So again, separating this along our x-axis, we also need to be here. And so now the region which has both blue and green shading is the solution.